I'm calling to complain about my employer, Chicago Public Schools.
Gotcha.
Oh, nice.
That's why I'm using that name. So, the whole thing last week, with our teachers voting to move remote, obviously it was just chewed up and spit out as them voting to not work at all, which is just not true. And unfortunately that was circulating a lot. But the core of the problem here is that we had to wait for a union action, a strong union action, to get any sort of movement in any direction. And right now the policy that they're kind of agreeing on is just tertiary in terms of what needs to be done. The administration, the Lightfoot's administration right now is just not taking this seriously. And their responses during the press conferences have been wholly just inadequate over last week. And this is just indicative of how much our country's shit response to this is just rolling downhill. The feds put it off to the state puts it off to the municipality puts it off to fucking businesses to handle this shit. And, teachers are asking for tests, right? They're starting out high, negotiating and say, we want tests for everybody. Maybe that's not going to get done, right? But they're trying to negotiate down to something even just testing 10% of our student population at any given time. The problem is, right, yeah, we have a lot of federal money right now, but our fucking Dr. Arwadi last week said the CDPH, or Public Health Department, doesn't have any fucking tests. And we just had to buy a bunch of tests from J.D. Pritzker last week because we don't even have the supplies. And and it's unfortunate. And we do have the federal resources, right, in our budget to do this. I work on this stuff all day long. We don't have bodies in a lot of cases, right? The administration talks about how they want to put nurses at the center of all this and have them lead the charge, so to speak. We don't have bodies there, right? There are some schools that probably don't even have a nurse right now.
Yeah.
These were positions that the CTU was fighting for in their last negotiations. So they were ahead of this whole situation, knowing the need that schools have in terms of clinicians and nurses. We don't have the bodies there. We have teachers out every day on either a day-to-day or slightly long-term. We're running out of subs, right? We have all this money, and there's in literal cases, there aren't tests to buy. There aren't people to fill the positions. There aren't just resources out there to spend this money on, and it expires in 3 years, right? So it's what the fuck are we going to do? If we even want to have a somewhat rigorous testing regime, and they want to rely on the data, and they say the data that says that schools are safe, what fucking data, excuse my French, what data are they relying on there? It's not reliable. You all probably saw the news headlines with the FedEx drop-off boxes full of tests. Only 10% of those were actually processed. And guess what the test positivity rate was for them? 18%.
That's nuts.
Not good.
Not good.
Not good. So it's absolutely insane. The amount of gaslighting on this is just terrible. Liberals are terrible. They don't care about us. It's just extremely, extremely frustrating to hear this. And it has to be a polarized union action to even get them to move their feet just a little bit to do some real just common sense shit. So it's really upsetting that I have to, work through this.
Yeah.
And see this kind of on the ground, and knowing that we have the money to spend, but literally the incompetence from all the way up, there's just nothing to buy. The free market's just going to the invisible hand's going to drop up a bunch of tests for us to buy or something like that. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a total shit show. I mean, did you have a take on the compromise position that Lightfoot and the Chicago Teachers Union did end up agreeing to?
Yeah, I didn't see what the entire body of teachers, because they were voting on what the House of Delegates voted on, right? To see if the entire union agreed. I didn't see what the result of that was. Look, I didn't see anything really there new, right? They're saying that they are going to put in some metrics. If 30% of teachers are out, then they will convene some emergency committee to then vote on whether they want to just move that school remote. They want to take the, as Lori likes it, the surgical approach to this and shut down school by school. Yes, it's probably hard, to take the full position of shutting down all schools all at once, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's politically
difficult to do, right?
It's both things. It's like it's a double whammy. One, bosses want their employees available to them, and if their kids are home, that's not going to happen. And two, there are a lot of people who just want this to be wished away, and it's just politically toxic for a politician to do the right thing in this instance, even though it's the right thing, obviously.
Yeah, and to meet these metrics, like, quite frankly, again, I don't think we have the testing capacity yet. And the mayor was totally against the opt-out model, which many other school districts are doing, and having an actual successful policy in place. She's totally against that. She wants an opt-in because putting a swab up a kid's nose is like a quasi-medical procedure to them. But, to evaluate whether we're at that 30% mark, and at some schools, 30% of teachers can be like 60 people, just do the exponential growth on 60 people being infected in a school. I don't think we have the testing capacity to really truly evaluate and never get to that metric. So I think what they offered is kind of horseshit, and I don't think the implementation side of it is really as strong as it really needs to be. It could be a decent position.
Yeah.
Honestly, but I have no confidence that they'll actually be able to realistically rely on the data that they keep saying is good and positive in terms of schools being safe.
Well, hang in there, shy bureaucrat. It sounds insanely frustrating, but I appreciate the call. Thanks for keeping us updated.
No problem.